Hey there. So today on this episode of Star Trek Discussed, I will be going over my personal ranking of the Star Trek movies. Now just to let you know, I will be excluding Star Trek Beyond from here since I have yet to see the movie and in my opinion it would be unfair for me to include it in my ranking. But I will be ranking all 12 other movies that I have seen. So let us begin. So my least favorite is Star Trek V The Final Frontier. I just never really liked it. I just don't like it. There's really nothing else to say. Unlike my ranking for, actually no, I'll talk about that later, but, well, just saying that among the lower numbers for my Star Trek movies, I have none that I'll tie like I did with my Star Wars ones. Which I will update, of course, when that Last Jedi comes out. But this is Star Trek we're talking about, not Star Wars. So let me keep myself on track with Star Trek. And I'm talking about how Star Trek V: The Final Frontier is my least favorite Star Trek movie. I never liked it. Every time I watched it, it feels off. Like, I would say if I ranked all the Star Wars and Star Trek movies, this will rank below The Phantom Menace for me. So yeah, no, actually no, not Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones for me. That's how much I don't like the Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. It, in my opinion, it just doesn't exist for me. But let's move on to my second least favorite, which is Star Trek Into Darkness. It was an okay movie, I just didn't like it. How Khan was still complex in that, but he was better in the Prime timeline, not the Kelvin timeline. It just felt kind of off, and then how they revived Cook at the end with Khan's supernatural blood, like really, come on. That's such a cop-out way of keeping your main character alive. A better thing would have been to pull the cook from another universe into this timeline, would have made it better. I just didn't like how they handled that. But now let's move on to my third least favorite, which is Star Trek Nemesis, which was now I would say after this one, you're starting to get into the movies I actually enjoy. This one's like kind of like, I really don't know if I actually enjoyed it or not. That's why it's my third least favorite. So, but yeah, it's an okay movie. Like the Enterprise E, I liked the conflict from within the Romulan Empire, like that threatened that could have caused a civil war on in the Romulan Star Empire. That I like. It's more how all the characters that I really didn't care for as much. Since it was kind of an interesting one, just every it I can watch it like Into Darkness. It's not like Star Trek V, which I don't want to watch ever again. I'll watch it again. It's an okay movie. It's just it's post Star Trek. It's like Spock's brain. Post Star Trek, but not post sci-fi. Does that make sense? Star Trek V was post sci-fi. But let's move on to the next one, which is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I think they could have done a slightly better title. I understand why they just didn't do Star Trek, but they have V'ger in it. That was cool. The uniform's like kind of interesting and neat. But I think the main reason why I think I put it only at my fourth least favorite, or could we call it my ninth favorite? Let's call it my ninth favorite. Is that I think the title, it's a bit slower, and the title, in my opinion, could be better. Maybe Star Trek. I don't know, something with Star Trek V'ger, something or other, something with V'ger or some other name. The motion picture is kind of a blonde name, but other than that, it is actually not a bad movie. Good Star Trek, good sci-fi. It's just a bit slow. And actually, I recently heard about how at one time they considered having at the end of the movie the Klingon ships from the beginning reappear in engage the Federation, engage the Enterprise. I wish they had done that. That would have been cool and awesome and a good way to end. They give it a little bit of an action at the end for those who were looking for action, but still had the good Star Trek, and it ties in nicely. And what did happen to those Klingon ships? The Enterprise came back out, but not those Klingon ships. But let's go on to my next one, which is my 8th favorite, Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. It's an okay movie. I might actually prefer the motion picture more, but this has a better title. Maybe they're about the same. It's only the title that might be distinguishing them from where they are. It's a good Star Trek movie. I do enjoy it. It's just not my favorite, but it's still very enjoyable. Yeah, and really, probably for the title, this would be 9th instead of 8th as it is. The title really does help it a lot. So let's move on to my 7th favorite, which is Star Trek Insurrection. Because one nice thing about Star Trek Insurrection is it does show a little more what happened in the Federation directly after the Dominion War, like right afterward, which I greatly liked. And that just reminded me about one thing about Star Trek Nemesis. I did like the appearance of Captain Janeway, now Vice Admiral Janeway, Voyager. That I actually did like. Now let's get back to Insurrection. But yeah, I liked how it did also show that there were other participants in the Dominion War too that we didn't get to see. Which Nemesis alluded to the Remans, which kind of made sense because they were part of the Roman Empire. But here we talk like the Sona, like the first time we really actually get to see them. Apparently, I heard they might have been mentioned. Yeah, the other allies part. But yeah, it was kind of nice to see that for a change. See more, well, not necessarily for a change, but nice to see directly what happened after the Dominion War, and then the tiny, granted not a whole lot, but what happened to one specifically side that fought against the Federation, who apparently became allied with one Federation admiral. This is an interesting movie. But yeah, it was like right afterwards. Still don't know how Wolf got injured. But yeah, that's one thing about a lot of the Generation movies. Except for First Contact. It's like, okay, how did Wolf get on the Enterprise? Cause in Insurrection he should have been leaving for Kronos to as as a liaison or ambassador or something like that. And then with Nemesis, he should have still been there. But that's digressing. Let's go on to my 6th favorite, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This is, most people actually put this on the number 1, so I expect some hate in the comments for having this only at my 6th favorite. But then again, personal favorite, and for me it involves a lot of enjoyment factor, not just the techniques and that's involved that many traditional critics will probably do. This is my personal favorites and enjoyment. So yeah, I liked it. What else can I say? I greatly enjoyed it and all that. It's been a while since I watched it. If I watched it more recently, it'd be easier for me to remember. But yeah. So but yeah, nice seeing Khan again and see what happened to him and such and that. Let's move on to my 5th favorite now, Star Trek, which is the Star Trek reboot movie directed by J.J. Abrams. So yeah, I put this on number 5 because it was, granted, maybe I prefer some of the others, but it was kind of nice to see a new Star Trek movie, some fresh perspective in that. And it does actually help me develop, and actually not help me, it probably help develop some other people's, but a series that I kind of like to think is basically 2 timelines. One where the Federation, because of what happened in First Contact. First Contact affects, in my opinion, what happened, what caused that more than just the appearance of Nero's interesting ship in the Red Mantle. And nice to see, and nice how they had Spock showed up again. in the Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness, particularly Star Trek, where he played a more prominent role, so True Sparks and all of that. It was nice to see. Granted, there's some things I didn't like about it, but it was a nice, good movie, and it made a lot of sense when you think about it, more than Into Darkness. But yeah, it was a very good movie and does contribute, in my opinion, to evidence of of technological changes that were going on, which all I think has to do with World Code and First Contact. But before we talk about First Contact, let's talk about my fourth favorite, Star Trek Generations. So yeah, in the Icy Galaxy, Captain Cook again, and let's see, and connected kind of nicely. We got to see the Enterprise B, because we saw the C in Next Generation. D was always in Next Generation, C was in one episode. A was in the movies, and then F was going to be after Generations. But yeah, I got to see B for a little bit, an Excelsior's class starship. But yeah, it was nice to see that. It was a good plot. Got some background on Gyna. Though, apparently, though, there is one plot hole I do wonder is, apparently she was a refugee at the time of from the Borg at the time of which was after Star Trek 6. During Cook's time, she was a refugee, but only about 200 years old to 300 years earlier, she was on vacation on Earth. Like, that is a bit of a plot hole in my opinion, but it is possible that, yeah, she went on vacation, then she went back to her people, and that happened, and her species does have a long lifespan, so it makes sense. But yeah, Star Trek Generations was very nice, and the villain's motivation actually does make sense a lot. But let's move on to my my third favorite. I misspoke, which is Star Trek First Contact. So yeah, so we got to see the Borg. As Captain Picard's character, some people actually have criticized his character, but in my opinion, it does make sense since he knew firsthand what the Borg were like from being assimilated in their native fleet. So I think his reactions to have to fight the Borg, where the line must be drawn here, etc., etc. I'm not going to quote it. Makes sense. It really does make sense of how he has it, how his character has been developed as such because of that. And it does the credence to how Star Trek universe took two different technological developments. The main universe where First Contact either never occurred or different concrete statements of mechanical invaders or something like that, which was mentioned in Enterprise, was just not taken seriously. But I like to think but in the Reboot timeline, it was taken seriously. So people excite when Nero's ship came out of to that singularity was the point of divergence. In my opinion, the point of divergence was much, much, much earlier, which caused more technological development quicker. Maybe even Enterprise itself is set in the Reboot timeline. It is, of course, but more so than we think it is. Because of that. With, there being some minor differences between itself and the main timeline, which if you go, because I think that'd be so neat. But that's getting off topic with the movies and such. So now that I've talked about First Contact, let's go on to my second favorite Star Trek movie, Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country. Get to see peace with the Klingons for once. They have the ridges. Yeah, Klingons were nice to see finally and once again. In movie, though their characterization did change a lot, though I think it was a change for the better, though they still had them being not though since let's see, because they changed them because the Soviet Union was the US's main enemy during the Cold War, so Romulans and Klingons were kind of made the Star Trek equivalent of it, though. So, but in the undiscovered country being the peace itself, which I think is kind of a neat little play, though they do explain it in the movie, of course. But it is kind of a neat thing. And then, so as I was saying a little earlier, is that since Sereno was around at the time of the undiscovered country, they based the Klingons' newer culture, per se, on a little bit of the Nazi Germany. You see that a little bit in the red that I can still hark back to the Soviet Union. But what that main part though is how sorry, lost my train of thought. Is how the Klingons claimed that they had written Shakespeare, not humans. Just similar to how the Nazis, I've heard, they claim that they Shakespeare was written by one of them and not by an English gentleman. That's where that opinion comes from. I don't know how much stock I put into that theory, but it's there and it's kind of a neat bit trivia and such. But it was nice, but it was good to see Klingons, peace between them. Kind of explains why they're not fighting each other in Next Generation, why the Romans become much more of a threat. And now let's talk about my favorite Star Trek movie. Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. I don't know why I like it. I just like it. There's a little action, but it's not too much. Got to see Earth and Century. Got to see the USS Enterprise, the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. CVN. Oh, I forget the registry number, but it begins with CVN. CV would be a non-nuclear aircraft carrier. CVN is a nuclear aircraft carrier. But I digress. Got to see the Enterprise. We got to see Chekhov being accused of being a Russian, which he is. And his characterization is as such. But it's kind of interesting to see that him do an insane jump and get sent to the hospital. And then Dr. McCoy go on his way interferes with violating the temporary prime directive and helps cure a woman of, I'm guessing, kidney or some kind of stomach ulcer or something. I can't remember fully, but yeah. And then, of course, then there was the scientist that fell in love with Kirk doing it, and we never heard from her again, and she went back with them to take care of the humpback whales. It's just such a good movie. It is my most favorite Star Trek movie. That's why it's my number one. So there you have it. All 12 Star Trek movies ranked minus Star Trek Beyond until I watch it. And once I do, I'll rank it as well. I'll just tell you where it ranks. I won't read you this entire list. But so there you have it. My ranking for the Star Trek movies. So just a few things I want to let you know about is that my next video will be an interesting video per se, but it'll be regarding the Star Trek television series and people rewatching, I should specify. So that's my little hint. I've had this plan for a little bit, but yeah. So thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, subscribe for future Star Trek content, and consider following me on social media. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. Live long and prosper.